Okay. So I want to jump right in. So I mentioned in my last email that I want to focus on three areas in this meeting. The first one is email, second one is calendar, and the third one is Google Voice. Google Voice is where our work phone numbers are going to end up starting next week. So let me go ahead and share my screen and we will jump into Gmail. Thanks. Okay, so first thing, I wanted to go over search functionality. Several people had questions regarding this. And this is one of my favorite parts of Gmail. The search functionality, I think, is incredible and it's extremely powerful. So you've probably seen the search bar that's in the upper part of the screen, but maybe you haven't noticed that over to the right there's a little icon. If you click on that, it's going to give you additional search options. So you can search by different criteria, who an email came from, who it was to, any sort of search phrase that you wanted to search for, whether it has words, whether it doesn't have certain words in the email. You can search for emails that have attachments, and you can search within a specific date range. So let me give you an example. Say I was looking for an email that I know came from Lynn. And somewhere in there, it has the words annual conference. And I know that this was an email that was sent, within the last 2 months. And it had an attachment. Like I'm looking specifically for a file that Lynn had sent me. So I'm going to check this checkbox, has attachment. I'm going to go ahead and do a search. And now this is giving me only emails from Lynn that have attachments within the last 2 months. And I find that great. This is the document that I was looking for. So that's just one example of doing a search within Gmail. Uh, One other thing to note is when you're in the inbox, by default, it's doing a search for absolutely everything that's in your account. So not only your inbox, but anything that might be in your sent folder, anything that's under all mail was archived, any of these other folders, it's searching everything. But if you just wanted to search the sent folder, for example, if you actually go into the sent folder, you're going to see that up here in the search bar, something is in here now. It's already showing in sent. So anything that I search for now, as long as those words are in the search bar, it's only searching the sent folder. So now I'm looking for something in the sent folder that was annual conference. And now this is only showing me results for things that are in my sent folder. That's the same with labels as well. If you've set up any labels within Gmail, if you click into the label, you can see up here in the search bar, it's showing you label connect. And if I do a search now, it's only going to search the contents of this label. But if the idea is to search for any email anywhere, just remember the easiest way to do that is just to be in your inbox and to do your search within the inbox. Next thing I want to point out is the side panel, and this is something that I completely forgot about. Brendan showed it to me recently. There's a little icon in the lower right-hand corner. It's a little arrow, and if you click on it, it's going to show you your side panel. And over here, this is customizable, but it has a handful of options in here already. This is where you can look at your calendar and your email at the same time. So if you click Google Calendar, now it's showing me my calendar events for today. So I can be here in my email and I can be looking at my calendar at the same time. There are some other features here as well. So Google Keep is Google's version of note taking. So if you have little notes that you want to keep for yourself, as opposed to putting them in a separate document or sending emails to yourself, you can keep notes here. And then you can organize them. It's a good little note taking app. Similar feature, Google Tasks. So if you have any tasks that you're trying to keep track of, this is something that you could use as well. And then if you want to sort through your contacts, that's another option. And then Google Voice is an option here as well. And I'll be going over Google Voice in much more detail later in the meeting. The last thing that I want to go over is filters and labels. And there's a lot that I could talk about here, and it could be its own meeting really, but I just want to show you a very simple version of what a filter looks like. So up here in the upper right-hand corner, you click the gear icon and you click See All Settings. And then first thing you want to do, so I'm going to create a filter that is going to take emails from a specific sender and it's going to apply a label to it. So the first thing that I'm going to do is actually create that label. I'm going to click on the Labels tab. I'm going to scroll down to the Labels heading, and I'm going to click the Create New Label button. And within here, so I'm going to create a filter and a label for emails that I receive from Accomplish. That's the company that we contract with for the development of the village. And I get, you know, a fair number of emails from them. So I want to keep them organized in a label. I'm going to go ahead and create that label. I'm just going to call it Accomplish. And you can see that now it's a new label here on the left-hand sidebar. I'm also going to go ahead and give it a color. So I'm going to go click the three little dots to the right of the label, go up to label color, and I'm just going to make it yellow, for example. Now I'm going to go under filters and blocked addresses. I'm going to go ahead and create a filter. So you can see I've already created a number of filters already, but if I scroll down to the bottom of this list, I have an option to create a new filter. And these are emails that I'm going to go ahead. What you're doing here is similarly to what I just showed you. You're going to create a specific search. And emails that match the search criteria as they are delivered to your inbox will be triggered by this filter. And then you can take action, a series of different actions on that email. So I want all emails that come from, I can't remember the exact domain. Let me get it here. So it's accomplishagency.com. What you can do here is you can enter partial strings are okay. It will match partial strings. So as opposed to just emails specifically from Michael Austin, michael@accomplishagency.com, I want this to match all emails with that domain, any emails from accomplishagency.com, regardless of what the inbox is. I'm going to go ahead and create a filter. And now any messages that come from that domain, I'm choosing what actions I want this to take. So I want to apply a label to it, and I'm going to select Apply Label, Accomplish. And you can do other things here as well. If you want these emails to only appear under labels, you can have them not appear in your inbox at all. You can have it skip your inbox. So you would only access them by clicking into the label. But I want to keep these emails in my inbox. The only thing I want to do is apply this Accomplish label. You have an option if you want to apply this filter to emails that you have already received, you can check this last checkbox to apply the filter to matching conversations. I'm going to go ahead and create filter. So now that filter has been made, it's already been applied to emails I've received. If I click into the accomplished label, we can see that it's already full of emails. 98 emails have already matched this search. So any emails that come into my inbox from now on are going to be applied with a label. And just to show you a handful of other labels I'm already using, I created a label for 1/10 Consulting, so emails that come from them. I created a label, so I have the Tech Manager account coming into my JSON inbox. And so I have a label for that as well, just so I know, okay, these are emails that went to the Tech Manager. They didn't come directly to my inbox. And then I have Salesforce labels as well. Any emails that come from Salesforce, I've applied that label. I really like this as a way to keep inboxes organized. You can look, I mean, if you create a robust series of labels for emails that you receive regularly, then you can make your whole inbox very easy to work with at a glance because all of your emails will have these different colored tags and you'll be able to see at a glance what it is you have there. So that's everything I wanted to go over with mail. Why don't I stop there? I'll stop after each app to take questions. Any questions that anyone has? And I see Aviva. Go ahead.
Hi. So weird because I don't see myself. Anyway, you see me, I'm sure. Just a quick question about labels. If I'm putting things in labels, but they're also in my inbox, I assume this is the case, but I want to just check that there's just one version, right? So it doesn't really matter if I enter it via link. If I'm going to, let's say, open something and forward it or reply, it doesn't matter if I'm opening it in inbox or on labels, because it's just the one copy, correct?
That's correct. It's just the one email. That's
Okay.
right.
Thanks.
Mm-hmm. Jeff.
Yeah. So I was trying to look through, I've been out of the office for a while and I was trying to look back from like annual conference, right after annual conference to now. And my email stopped on September 27th and I wasn't able to look, to any previous emails. I just wanted to know, do I need to do a search for emails between that period? Or is there a way, before you just used to be able to scroll until infinity.
Yeah, so you're saying you were seeing in your inbox that emails were going back to September 27th?
Yeah.
And if you okay, so I might know what's happening. So here in my inbox, so I only have these 31 emails here. So I can't click forward or back, but if you're in a bigger folder, like I'm going to go into my all mail folder and you can see that it's showing me I have over 6,000 emails. Do you see your inbox where you're able to hit the left and the right arrow to keep like going through time?
Okay, I didn't try that. So inbox versus all mail is a thing.
Yes. So your inbox are, emails that are delivered to your inbox. Now, when you've read an email, you can do a handful of things. So, for example, I go into this email. If I wanted to archive this email, you archive an email, it's no longer in your inbox, but you still have it, and it's still visible to you under the all mail folder. So if I go here, there's the email that I just archived. I still have it, it's just not in my inbox. Does that make sense?
It does. It just didn't make sense to me where I hadn't touched the email, before September 27th or whatever, and it still wasn't showing up. But I'll try the all mail. That makes sense.
Okay, great. Any questions? It's hard to see. The picture is so small, everybody in the office, but any questions, anybody in the office?
No.
All good? All right. Let's jump over to Google Calendar. Okay. So let's start with different types of events. So I don't know if anyone has noticed when you click under when you create an event, you can do it a handful of different ways. You can click into the day that you want to create an event. So say I wanted to create a meeting tomorrow, you can just click on the day when you're in this view, and it will come up, to create an event, to create a meeting. But you can also click the button over here on the upper left-hand side. You click Create, and then you have different options under here. An event would be just a standard meeting, but you can create other types of events as well. You can create a focus time event. So if you wanted to block out time on your calendar where you didn't want to take any other meetings, you didn't want anything else to conflict with the work that you're doing, say for example on, Friday, that's a day that I need to work on a specific project and I don't want anybody to book any meetings on that Friday. I would come in here, I would select focus time, and then I would create this event for, I would select the day, I would select Friday, and I would put focus time from 9 to 5 p.m. But there are other things here as well, like out of office. So you can see several people have used this already. If you know, for example, you're taking off, and let's say I'm taking off the following week, the week of October 10th, I would select out of office. I would select starting on the 10th, and this is going to be all day. I want this to go from Monday through Friday. So this is adding this to my calendar that I'm out of office. You have an additional option here to automatically decline meetings. So this is a really cool feature. What happens is if I put this on my calendar, number one, any meetings that are already in there for the week will become declined automatically. In addition, if anybody tries to schedule a meeting with you for that week, you can have it automatically decline the meeting. So it's going to come in and Google is automatically going to send a reply that says that you decline. And you can actually set a specific message in here. There's a default message that it plugs in, but you can go ahead and modify this with your own messaging. And there are a handful of others besides. You can set a working location for a specific day or days, and other things as well. I actually haven't tried out all of these, so I'm not sure what a task is in terms of putting a task on a calendar. And I honestly have no idea what appointment schedule is.
Jason, a task
Sure.
is just hey, it's Stephanie. A task is really helpful. It's actually a way for you to, if there's something you need to do on that email, you add it as a task and it saves it to the sidebar. So then when you want to refer to it, like I have one on mine that says coordinator change on Salesforce. It's just to remind me to update the new staff, and it links that email with all the information to the task.
Oh, that's well, thank you.
Super helpful.
Yeah, that's extremely helpful. I'm going to give that a try. So those are different calendar types. Now, I want to jump into the settings, all the different configuration options for the calendar. So again, just like other Google services, there's a gear icon usually somewhere in the upper right of the window. So I'm going to click that, and I'm going to go in the settings. So here in the first option under General, I'm going to scroll down, and it is going to show me a heading that says working hours and location. I believe by default, working hours should be set for everybody from 9 to 5, although I'm not sure if with new accounts, these options might not have a default. Perhaps they're not set. So you want to take a look in your account. And if you work 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, I think it's worth setting that in here as your working hours. And then in addition to that, you're able to set a working location. So I haven't set this up on my account, but what you can do is under working location, you can set whether you're going to be in the office or whether you're going to be at home. So for Boston staff, especially if you have fixed days, like you only come into the office Monday, Tuesday, for example, you can set your working location as office for Monday and Tuesday, and then you can set Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, your working location as being home. And this ends up being on your calendar, so if somebody is scheduling meetings with you, they would be able to see, okay, on this day, this person's home. I'm not going to book a meeting room in the office because you know that the person's going to be working from home. That's going to be a remote meeting. Let's talk about custom views, and I think that's also here on this page. Yep, so it's a little further up. So let me go back for a minute. Up here in the upper right-hand corner, you have a drop down, and I'm not sure what the default is. It might be the week view or the day view, but you're able to look at your calendar in different ways. You can look at just the day, and now this is just showing me my calendar for today. You can do a week view. This is going to show you the entire week, and then you can do the month, the year, but you have an additional option here. It's the very last option, and it will be labeled differently depending on what you have it set to, but this is your custom view. So I have my custom view set to 3 weeks at the moment. I find I really like the month view, but the problem with the month view is that it can be kind of crammed, especially on a small monitor. So if I click on this, we can see, because of the size of my monitor, it's not really a great view for looking at this. I'm hardly able to see anything unless I click into the options here to look. But while I like this view, if it was just a little bit smaller, for example, 3 weeks, then I can switch over to that. And this is a much more usable view for me. There's more space. I'm able to actually see the events a few weeks out. So the place to do that, again, is back in the settings. You're looking for the option that says custom view, and you're able to change that to any sort of custom view that you want within, a 1 month view. So you're able to set, a specific number of days or a handful of weeks, either 2, 3, or 4 weeks. Calendar visibility. So I'm going to scroll down on the left-hand sidebar. If I scroll down just a little bit, it's showing me all the different calendars that I have set up in my account. So as a quick note, by default, your calendar is labeled personal. What I did was, because I found it just that terminology a little bit confusing, because I keep a personal calendar, but this is not my personal calendar, it's a work calendar. I just went ahead and renamed it, JP Work. Just to remind me that this is in fact my work calendar, it's not a personal calendar. So I've clicked into that calendar, the settings for that calendar, and I'm going to scroll down, and there's a heading that says access permissions for events. So this is where the visibility settings for your calendar are. You can make your calendar available to the public, and that is not on by default, and I don't recommend that. Certainly don't need everybody on the internet knowing what's on their calendars. But the second option set here is make available for the Clubhouse network. So everybody who has a user account within our Google Workspace, which is everybody on staff, this is where you would choose to make your calendar available to your colleagues. And then over to the right, you have a drop down that says, what they're able to see. And you've only got two options. I'm pretty sure these last two are always disabled. But you can choose to make either, all of the event details, so that includes the name of the meeting as well as the description of the meeting. Or you can have it set to see only, free, or busy. And so events will appear on the calendar where the title just says busy. And there's no description at all. So they can see that, for example, you have a meeting from 11 to 12 o'clock, but they have no idea what that meeting actually is or who it's with. So I don't think we really have a organization policy about this, but I think that, the default setting, which is to make, meeting details available to our colleagues, I feel like that is the best way to have it configured. We're all having to create meetings with one another, and being able to see each other's calendars, I find to be helpful. So that would be my recommendation in the absence of a specific policy about that. Calendar sharing. So if, for anyone else that also has a personal calendar with Gmail, I find it helpful to be able to look at my personal calendar as well as my work calendar at the same time within the same calendar within Google. So the way to do that is under Share with Specific People. You would share your work calendar with your personal account. So that's what I've done here. I've gone ahead and I've shared that with my personal account. And I've also done the opposite. I've gone into my personal Gmail account and I've shared my personal calendar with my work account. So regardless of where I am, if I'm looking at in Google Calendar with my personal account or my work account, I'm looking at all of my events, all of my everything within the same view. And the last thing I wanted to touch upon was the shared TCN calendar. So there was a little bit of confusion with this calendar, and hopefully, back to what I mentioned about the default calendar being labeled personal, I think that might have lent to some of this confusion as well. So everybody has their personal calendar, but then we are also keeping a shared TCN calendar, and that's a calendar that Brendan created and then shared with everybody on staff. It had previously been called TCN calendar. Brendan went ahead and renamed that just for additional clarity. You should see that the calendar is called shared TCN calendar now. I found that after he had renamed it, it wasn't immediately changing names in my calendar right away. And I'm not sure how it resolved itself. It might have been as simple as simply like hiding the calendar and then showing it again, and then maybe the name of the calendar refreshed. But if that's still appearing under the previous name for anyone, let me know and I can help you try to update that. The way that we're currently using the shared TCN calendar, it's similar to the way that we were doing it using Microsoft Outlook. people have been putting, well, we have company holidays listed on there. And then looks like Brendan also has the timesheet reminders added to the calendar as well. So every other Wednesday. Other than that, the way that most of us had been using it is putting our out of office holds in there as well. So Jake, for example, he's out of office today, and he has an event in here in the shared GCN calendar, letting everyone know that. And I've been doing that as well. But I think for new staff, you might not be aware that that's something that some of us on staff had been doing. Again, I don't think we really have a policy about this. It's just we all just have to decide together, I guess, how we want to use this shared calendar. And I don't know, Brendan, if there's anything else that we want to talk about regarding that, or if anybody has any specific ideas for how we might want to utilize it.
Yeah, my thought that as I've been trying to add things onto it is dates that anyone else on staff might find helpful for referencing. So as I hear about certain things, I've been trying to add in some dates or deadlines just for people to have access to for awareness. So I know that it's super clear or definitive, but that's just the filter I've been using and when hearing dates.
Does anyone have any other thoughts? Aviva?
I really like the idea of everyone putting their out of office, because I don't know about you guys, but you know, someone writes in Slack like, I'm off tomorrow, and that's great, but sometimes by the time the next day comes, I might not be remembering, you know, and there's been 50 Slack messages. So I don't need, like, I'm going to a dentist, I don't need that on the calendar. But I like the idea a lot as a general protocol for us to follow, that when we're out of office for a full day at minimum, we do, just like Jake has there, Jake out of office.
Yeah, I like that as well. Cassandra?
Yeah, so I'm actually a little bit on the opposite end of the spectrum with putting the out of office on the shared calendar, just because I feel like if everyone's doing it, if there are a lot of people on a day, then it takes up my whole calendar view and it can be hard to kind of see the other things. So that's the only concern I would have. Otherwise, I think it could be a good protocol, but I would just wonder if there's a way to do it where that doesn't take up my full calendar view and I'm just seeing everyone who's out of office and I can't see the other things that I have going on without clicking into it. I don't know if that makes sense, but yeah.
Yeah, it does. I mean, hopefully on any given day, there wouldn't be too many people who are out at the same time. I imagine, though, that when we get to the end of the year, you know, there are probably going to be 7, 8, 9 or more, you know, out of offices stacked up on any given day, and that can probably get pretty, it's a lot of clutter. But what you can do, I mean, if that should happen, is you don't always have to be looking at the shared calendar. So if it's really getting in the way of the calendar view for that particular day or a few days, you can turn it on if there are events in there that you want to look at, but then otherwise, if you just hit the checkbox next to the calendar, then it doesn't have to be cluttering your view. You can just turn it off temporarily while it's becoming a nuisance, and hopefully that wouldn't be for too long, and then you could turn it back on.
That makes a lot of sense. And actually, I have one more question with that. So I don't think I'm entirely sure how to add like an out of office or something onto the shared calendar. Like whenever I add it, it just comes up on my personal calendar. But is there a specific process that you use to add things to our TCN shared calendar?
Yeah, so I found the same thing. So I'm going to go in here. I clicked an event. I'm going to go ahead and click more options. I don't know, I maybe should have mentioned this, but when you create a new event, it comes up, at least initially, with a little pop-up window, and it's just, I don't know, it's a little bit crammed. I like clicking more options so that this becomes the whole window, and it's just easier to see everything. but actually, now that I click that, is it?
Yeah, if you scroll down, there you go, with that calendar icon, Jason, and it says JP Work.
Yeah, JP Work. Well, this is where I would change which calendar I want to put it to. So this is how I would create an event on the shared TCN calendar, but now I'm not seeing how to change the event type.
Click
that-
busy under
Uh,
the shared calendar. Oh no.
Okay. Yeah, just busy or free. Let's go back. If I discard this, let's go back. I'm going to create an out of office. And okay, now if I click on my calendar, yep, and I don't have the option of adding an out of office event to the shared calendar. So it looks like there are certain limitations when it comes to shared calendars, that you can't create every type of event with a shared calendar. So when it comes to out of office, what you could do is, well, I would recommend creating 2 events. I recommend creating the out of office and putting it on your own calendar. And that's mostly for your benefit, to be able to automatically decline meetings, but also to let people know who are looking at your calendar that you're out of office. And then in addition to that, then I would just create a regular event, a regular out of office event, and I would put that on the shared TCN calendar. So it's an extra step. It's creating 2 different events, but I think that that would be the way to do it.
Do you think, will this substitute Slack? I'm just thinking, I think this is an unpopular opinion, but I'll voice it nonetheless. I feel like already to take time off, you know, I like need to talk with my manager, and then I need to go on Velocity, and then I need to put a out of office in my personal calendar, and then I put a reminder to myself to message everyone on Slack the day before, and then I tell Kylie, and so now adding this next step feels like there's some repetition in that process. I'm wondering if it's that we want to swap it out, or that we just want to keep the repetition.
Yeah, that's a really good point. You know, for me, I would say when it comes to mentioning these things on Slack, maybe that's not always necessary. You know, it's useful. I think it's probably useful just to let colleagues know as a reminder, like, I'm going to be out next week, so if there's anything you need from me, just make sure that, you know, you reach out to me within the next few days, because I'm going to be next week. That's sort of the function that Slack plays for me. But that might not always be necessary. Like, let's say, you know, I'm going to be out of office for a week, but whatever it is that I have going on next week, like, Alberto's able to help me with, he's already covering for. So as long as I've communicated with him that I'm going to be out next week, maybe it's not necessary for me to remind everybody on staff that I'm going to be out next week. Just a thought.
Okay, thank you. Sounds like we'll all kind of flex it and find a way. Thank you.
Yeah. Any other thoughts about calendar, or any questions about calendar at all?
Jason, you raise your hand. I'll follow you.
School here. Hey, Jason, my question is simply in trying to find the TCN staff calendar, shared calendar, as well as I'm not finding it. I know I can find colleagues' calendars when I'm booking an event. You know, I just look at their calendars quite easily, but I'm not able to I don't see it on the sidebar the way you have it there.
Yeah, so you're seeing the TCN shared calendar. Let me, I'm going to go ahead and remove it and see what happens here. So you'll no longer have access to this calendar and its events. All right, let's see. So the way that you add somebody's calendar, so you can see, like, I've already added a handful of staff calendars. I've added Alberto, Brendan, Lynn, and some calendars for rooms as well. Now I'm going to go ahead and roll my mouse over so it doesn't appear here under my calendar. What you do is you scroll down under other calendars and you see that there's a plus symbol there.
Yep.
I'm going to go ahead and click add other calendars and I'm going to subscribe to a calendar. And this is where you would easily be able to add somebody else's calendar. So if I wanted to add Lisa's calendar, for example, just click her name, or if it's not appearing right away, you just start typing her name and it's going to come up. Now with the shared TCN calendar, let me just start typing shared TCN, no, TCN, no.
That's what I tried.
Browse resources. Let's see if it's under, no, not browse resources, not create a calendar, subscribe to a calendar. Let me check one other thing. TCN calendar. So the way that this was originally shared with us, there was an email from Brendan. It looks like it came in, at least it came in to me back in July 29th. It might have been shared with others at a later date. But hopefully you would have gotten an email from Brendan about this. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to click on this again and see if the link still works. I'm going to go ahead and click add this calendar. And yep, I'm going to click add. And it's back. So let me, if you check your inbox, hopefully you have a message that says bcasey@theclubhousenetwork.org has shared a calendar with you. But if you don't have this, let me.
I'll look for that email.
Yeah, and I think I can share directly
Thank
to
you.
again.
Yep. I'm happy to help. Brendan's happy to help. We'll make sure that you're able to add that.
Thanks.
Anything else regarding calendar before we move over to Google Voice?
Yeah, I had a question, Jason. So for the event permissions, did you say whether there's an intermediate option between share, see only free busy and see all event details? Because I remember in Outlook, there was an option where you could share the meeting title, but no one could see the agenda within.
I see. No, I don't believe that Google has an option along those lines. So you can see make available for the Clubhouse network. And if I click this drop down, it's only two options that you're going to see, that they can either see all event details or they can see only free or busy.
Okay, all right, thanks.
Yeah. Aviva.
To answer Jen's question, and maybe I'm wrong, I've been assuming, but like I, if I'm going to the doctor, I want people to know I'm busy, but they don't need to know all the details. So I've actually marked it as private, which makes me assume that you don't see anything other than it's blocked off.
Yeah, that is a good note. So say for example, like this, I've got this recurring meeting with Accomplish every 2 weeks, and say for example, I wanted to make this private for whatever reason. Let's see, how is that done? Okay, so you click into the event, you click the edit button, edit the event, and then as opposed to default visibility, you can set that individual event, that individual meeting to be private. Again, I think if you do that though, it's going to appear as just title busy. So it's going to mask everything, I believe. So it's not quite that Microsoft functionality that you're looking for, Jen, where it shows the title but not anything else. It's still going to hide everything. But this is a good option for, being able to hide individual events while leaving everything else on your calendar available to everybody.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, let's jump over to Google Voice. So, as I mentioned in my email, all of our work numbers are going to be porting over from Microsoft on Monday, and that's a day that we're all going to be out of the office. So, when we come back on Tuesday, work phone calls are going to happen within Google Voice. So this, it's available at voice.google.com, and I don't believe it's an option here, and it's not. Seems like a little bit of a miss on Google's part. So you'll actually have to go to that URL. You won't be able to get to it from this quick launch button. But the URL is voice.google.com. Let's see, what was I going to cover first? So the first thing to know is that there is no desktop application for Google Voice. There are mobile applications. So if you wanted to use Google Voice on your phone, whether it's an Android phone or an iPhone, there is a mobile app for it. But when it comes to using Google Voice on your laptops or a desktop computer, there is no application for it. It is only something that is available to you within the web browser. But I'm going to show you how to set this up so it's sort of application-like. But the first thing to note is when you're using Chrome, and this is the case with any website, whether it's Google Voice or anything else, Google has certain security parameters applied by default. So websites can't just show you, can't just use your microphone. Websites can't just play sound. Websites can't just show you notifications. It can't do any of those things by default. You have to allow those things to happen. So up in the URL bar, just to the left of the URL, is a little icon, and it usually appears as a little lock because most websites are secured. And if you click that icon, this will probably look different for you the first time you go to Google Voice. But what you're looking for is the option at the very bottom of the list that says Site Settings. If you go into Site Settings, this is going to show you all of the permissions that you are currently giving this website, voice.google.com. And you want to enable certain things. So to make phone calls with Google Voice, you need to be able to use your laptop's microphone. So under the microphone setting, you need to allow the microphone. By default, it's set to ask. So you want to just set it to allow. You also want Google Voice to be able to send you notifications. So, say the web browser is not the top window and Google Voice is not your currently active tab within your web browser. How do you know that you're receiving a phone call? That needs to come in through a notification. So you want to allow Google Voice to send you notifications. So you would change that drop down. You also want Google Voice to be able to play sounds. So you need to be able to hear the phone calls that you're on. That is what that setting is allowing you to do. So it's those three key settings, I believe. And let me go ahead and click reload and take a look at this. Here we are. So we can see that the microphone, sound, and notifications are all allowed on this website. So now Google Voice is functional. You can receive phone calls. You will be notified that phone calls are coming in. Your microphone and your speakers will work. The way to check just to confirm that the right devices are being used, like if you're using a headset, whether you're using a headset or you're just using the built-in microphone on your laptop, or which speakers you're using. Again, if it's a headset or your laptop speakers, you click the headset icon in the upper right-hand corner, and this is showing you your audio settings. So this is showing me that it's my microphone, my built-in microphone on the laptop, and that it's ringing from the speakers, and that sound is also coming from my speakers. And you can test those, and you can see as you're speaking the little waveform moving, so I know that the microphone is working. Now, the additional wrinkle here is that Google Voice actually has to be open. You have to have Google Voice open in your web browser in a tab. It doesn't have to be the active tab, but it has to be a tab that is open on an open web browser. Otherwise, the phone calls are not going to come in. What you can do to make this a bit easier, and you can do this on any website, this isn't just Google Voice, is you can have this website open in its own window. If you click in the upper right-hand corner, the 3 little dots, and you click on More Tools, there's an option here that says Create Shortcut. So I want to create a shortcut for Google Voice, and I want to open as a window. And I'm going to click Create. And you can see what's happened. Google Voice, oh, you cannot see what happened. Let me switch over here. Let me stop sharing the screen. New share, Google Voice. So Google Voice is now opening in its own window. And I actually just want to share my entire screen here. And are we here? Are we not here? Sorry about this. Stop sharing my screen. Stop sharing. And do this one more time. Entire screen. That's interesting. It's still not showing my entire window. Or maybe it is. All right. So Google Voice is now open in its own window, and I'm not sure if you're able to see my taskbar, my Windows taskbar at the bottom, but there is actually its own icon, kind of like it's its own application. So this is now in my quick launch bar as its own window. I'm going to go ahead and right click that. I'm going to pin it to my taskbar, and then I'm just going to move it over. Just going to put it right next to my browser. So I smashed Windows Explorer. There we go. So again, I'm not sure if you're able to see it, but down on my taskbar now I have an icon for Google Voice. So what I can do is I can just have that open completely independent of the browser. I can just have Google Voice open there and in the background. And as long as that application is running, you will be able to receive calls here. I realize all of this is quite a bit of configuration. And I don't expect everybody to remember this, and I don't expect everybody to be able to set this up themselves. I am happy starting on Tuesday to help everybody do this, to help get everybody set up with this. Alberto is also going to be on hand to help. We'll make sure for anybody who relies upon their work phone numbers, I want to make sure that this is set up right and set up as soon as possible. So if you have, if you need help setting this up in this way, or just want to confirm that it's set up correctly, I'm going to be available on Tuesday, so is Alberto. Please reach out to us and we'll be happy to configure this for you. Let me jump into settings just to show you a handful of configuration options. And I know we've got about 2 minutes left here. For anybody who has to leave, feel free. If we go a couple of minutes over, if you would like to stay, I can be here a little bit longer as well. But real quick, let's go under settings, and I want to show you some of these options here. So there are different notifications that you can receive. So messages, number one, and I mentioned this via email, but Google Voice is going to allow you to send text messages to and from your work number. So under this messages heading, if you want your text messages to be sent to you as an email, you would just turn that option on. Every text message will get delivered to you as an email. Other options, so you're able to set up email alerts for missed calls. So if you receive a missed call, you want to get an email about that, hit the toggle switch there. What other options? Getting voicemail via email. So if you want to receive your voicemails as emails, you will turn that on there. Let's talk about Do Not Disturb. So this is a really cool feature. Number one, if you are out of office and you just want to turn on Do Not Disturb, like you're out for a week, you don't want to be bothered with phone calls during that week, you just turn on Do Not Disturb, and phone calls will just be sent to your voicemail, directly to your voicemail, until you turn that off. Now regarding working hours, so if back in Google Calendar, you set your working hours, so say it's Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, if you turn on this option, it will send calls to voicemail. If those calls come in outside of those work hours, they will just go directly to voicemail. I think that is a very cool feature, especially if you're choosing to use Google Voice on your phone. If you have it set up on your phone, then theoretically, anybody could call you at any time and your phone is going to ring. But if you do not want to be receiving those calls after work hours, just turn on that toggle and it won't happen. And then this last option, follow out of office. So send calls to voicemail when calendar shows you are out of office. So again, like if next week I put an out of office on my calendar for the entire week, then calls are going to go straight to voicemail at that time. So I don't even have to bother with the Do Not Disturb. As long as my calendar is up to date with that out of office, calls are going to go to voicemail. And the last thing is just linked numbers. So if you want your work numbers to forward to your phone, like say, you don't necessarily want to set up Google Voice on your phone, but you still want to be able to receive calls there. You would add your mobile number as a linked number. And if you do that, you will be able to then have calls forward to that number. So as opposed to, if you didn't want your calls to ring you on your computer, but you wanted to forward it to your phone, that is what this linked numbers option is for. And that is the last thing that I wanted to share regarding Google Voice. Any questions about that? All right. Well, if there are no other questions, I really appreciate you sticking around a little longer and coming to this meeting. I hope it was helpful. I am here to help. Any questions that you have, I'm happy to help. Alberto is happy to help. Just reach out to us anytime. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jason.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.